noticed that I really didn't post a topic for this lecture, and the reason was because I was completely uninspired. I thought about coming into this lecture, and I thought about what is it that I want to teach this year, and I realized that I had no idea. I had no idea what I wanted to bring forth. Last year, I did a great lecture on neurosystemic. A lot of people have given me feedback this year that it was really well received and applied, and some great results. So please, if you haven't seen last year's lecture, it was actually really, really important, and I would highly recommend that you jump on YouTube and do that, not because I'm so fantastic, but because the nature of the material that I covered is very impactful. And the amount of neurosystemic and autoimmune disease that we're seeing out in the world today is profound and ever greater, becoming more. And so really, really important in my experience working with this tool, considering this is the majority of stuff that I'm seeing in my practice, probably you as well, that you check out that work. You may find that there's some really good stuff there for you. Looking around the room, and this is really sort of how I wanted to approach this, looking around the room, there are not many of you that have attended previous lectures with me, which is great. A few, but not many. So what I'd like to do is start from the beginning. And I'm going to offer you a different perception of the device, likely than the manner in which you have been introduced to it. A lot of my epiphanies in using this system have come from, again, as I described yesterday, being put in situations where most of us have never been in and or attempted to apply the device in the way in which the controls placed before me were presented. As a result of which, I learned some really important, fundamental, simple truths. For example, one that I shared with you yesterday that I would really like to reiterate is doing focused session work. This device, the software is immense. There are so many different ways that you can go about supporting your client while working with the device. So many of us have been trained into the paradigm of doing a little bit of this, risk profile, short sarcodes, mineralization, therapy panel, this, and ultimately in working that way, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, we really apply the device in a very general way. As a result, in my experience, we get very general results. It doesn't mean we don't get results, but it doesn't mean, in my experience, you're getting the greatest results that this thing can provide. Like I had explained yesterday, one of the fundamental things that I've learned about this system is keeping it focused. If I'm training my dog to come, today we're going to work on come. I'm going to continuously reinforce that so that the dog learns that command. Once the dog has learned that command, I can progress to the next. I can progress to sit, stay, roll over. And it isn't that I want to draw the comparison of your client or anybody you're working on to a dog. However, we are training. This is an entrainment. And if I teach for example, what I did at the Olympics, doing 45-minute lower chakra release, that was a focus session solely on releasing the lower chakra. As a result of which, my result was a balanced out hormonal system and menstruation. There was no direct correlation, in hormone to chakra, but I just understood the nature of how we hold trauma energetically, and I thought, hey, let's try that. And working in a focused way, I got a focused result. Let me give you another example other than that. I had a man who had been in a very bad car accident. He was actually a pedestrian and hit by a car. He had lymphedema in the left leg so bad that it was probably 3 to 4 times the size of the right. was so bad that he literally had developed horrible psoriasis on the leg and was draining lymph fluid directly out of the skin. It was disgusting, it smelled bad, and he was at risk of losing his leg. Now, I had approached him in maybe 5 or 6 sessions doing what I'd always been taught. I did my mineralizing, my short sarcodes. This is in my early days of usage. I did all of these things the way I had been taught. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And as a result, I got nowhere. It occurred to me, thinking through the program, it occurred to me, well, what is the one program in the device designed for drainage? Or to support drainage and channel opening? The short sarcode program itself. So I thought, what would happen if I took this entire session, this man's entire hour, and all I did was just click on lymph in the short sarcode panel for an hour. Now, it sucked. It was arduous. I wish they'd build a timer into that panel so I didn't have to just sit there clicking on the panel. But the byproduct of the work the next day was that leg had gone down over 50%. Within a week, it had gone down to normal. And suddenly, this was one of those epiphany moments, the aha, wow. So what I did was I focused on one outcome. I worked in a very singular way, and what I saw was a very focused result. So I would if there's anything I can encourage you while working in therapy with your clients, be very specific in your approach. If you're working on hormone today, your sole focus should be hormone. And then structure your sessions so that if your issue is hormone, you're actually addressing it today physically. Tomorrow, or your next session, you address hormone as well, but emotionally. But still focused. So today was physicality, tomorrow was the emotional connection or aspect of that same issue, and then moving into mental, spiritual, wherever the blockages are that you intuit, work in a very focused manner at that template, at that level. That's how I've always gotten my best results working in therapy with the device. And I'll share more of that with you as we go on. But the beauty of this system that I've come to learn is that there is no magic button. How many of you had a profound experience when you first bought your device? Be it somebody demoed you and you were like, oh my God, my pain's gone. How many of you had the magic wand fix? Few of us, right? Yeah. Few of us. How many have seen the magic wand fix in your practice, right? And then you sit there and you're like, well, what the hell did I do? Because I brought in a client the next day that had the same issue. I worked in the same way, did not get the same result. Has anybody ever had that happen? And you sit in observation of it, trying to study the cause and effect with very little rhyme or reason, seemingly, right? I once worked on one of the top internal medical specialists in Canada. His name is Dr. Robert O'Dwyer. I was very lucky to work with Dr. O'Dwyer in Dubai, working with the health authority in Sheikh Zayed. And with Dr. O'Dwyer, it was, the early days in my career. You know, it's intimidating. I'm not a doctor, a medical doctor. It's intimidating to work on one of the big boys initially, or certainly it was for me. And Dr. O'Dwyer, who was the head of the Port Alberni Hospital, came in for a demo. I hooked him up, I tested him. At the end of the test, I started taking him through his matrix, at which point I identified pain. He said to me, yes, he confirmed the pain and said, yes, I've had this pain for 15 years. I'm taking ibuprofen every single day to manage this pain. It was kind of a funny story. He had fallen off a ski lift, so there was embarrassment tied into the whole thing because it was from a stupid injury, right? Anyway, I thought, okay, let's see what we can do in therapy. I'll try to give him some sort of an experience and or release of symptom to, at the time I was selling him a device, to encourage him to purchase, right? Right when we finished taking him through the matrix, his pager went off, he was on call, he had to go back to the hospital. He said to me, you have 7 minutes exactly and then I gotta go. And of course I thought to myself, well, what can you do in 7 minutes, right? Really, what in therapy with this device, what can you do in 7 minutes? So I thought, okay, well, might as well give it a shot. I went into the spinal panel, I ran the spinal panel twice. Next day, phone call, total release of symptom. He bought his device that afternoon. Now, for the life of me, I thought about, what was it that I did? Did I press the button a little to the left? Where was the magic? How did this happen? Right? And going through the next 15 years of my experience with the device, I've really come to understand that there is no magic button. And so sometimes we'll have the magic wand fix and amazing things will happen. And I've actually even got an explanation per se of my own interpretation for that. But then why don't we get that same result with, in my experience, the majority? Because with the majority, I don't get that. Right? The summary to that is that it was an energy blockage. So an energy blockage for 15 years had caused him that pain, moving the spinal panel a couple times. It facilitated the unblocking of that energy, as a result of which it healed. But when we have clients, and this is where we need to reset our understanding or our belief systems of how this device is really working and get the magic out. I mean, be enamored by it, but it's still a device. We should be able to witness consistency and cause and effect, right? What I came to understand was, as an example, and a false expectation on my part and the part of many practitioners, if there's an energy blockage, it's very easy to facilitate that through the likes of a system like this. However, if I have a huge gouged cut on my arm and I put myself in the harness, is it reasonable to think that at the end of an hour that'd be completely healed, gone, and totally perfect? I mean, I have heard of like cool Buddhist masters and stuff that can do stuff like that, but I've never seen that happen through the device. My point is, when we have physical toxicity, physical degeneration, compromising vitality, then at this point we have to break those things down in a more rudimentary way, work them in a very focused way with strategy. So all healing, the first thing that you have to do to support healing is take out the sliver. Do you know what I mean? The first thing we always have to do is support detoxification, working with our clients. Detoxification and mineralization and nutritional support. We have to give the body the fundamental aspects of what it needs in order to support healing. And from there, we can move into what I understand as the 3 phases. The first is detox. I like to say we get the shit out, right? The second phase of healing is fortification. We put the good shit in. And the third phase of healing I understand as stimulation, regeneration, where we start the shit up. In my experience, healing must follow those specific rules. We first have to start with detox, into support, balancing, and fortification. From there into stimulation and regeneration. But to take a deficient body, and so many of us do this when we work in therapy, to take a deficient body that's under stress, malnourished, improperly supported, and toxic, and to ask that body, by going into some of the more performance or stimulation-based panels, to ask that deficient, toxic body to perform at a better level, the question itself is fundamentally corrupt, that you're asking of it via the therapy that you're doing. So if I can break down fundamentals, this is, for me, point of origin where everything starts. So today, what I wanted to talk a little bit about was applying your device as an assessment tool and how to use that and structure that in your business. How many of you, and please be honest, how many of you bring your client in and attempt to both assess and, I risk saying the word diagnose, you can use that word if you're licensed in your respective marketplace for diagnosis. So for example, in China, the device is recognized for diagnosis and treatment. So as a result of which I can be a little more liberal with my language. But many of you in practice, when a client comes in, are attempting to both incorporate an assessment of your client via the results of your test in the matrix, as well as support them in therapy in that one session? How many are trying to do that? The majority of us, right? So this is, in my experience, where the model has to be changed. This wasn't about a business model, how to build your business. It was about how to apply your device, structuring your business to be able to help your clients best. In my experience, for example, right now in China, the device is solely being used as a diagnosis supportive tool. We're not teaching or doing therapy right now at all. It's going into the hospitals, we're running a 5-minute test, we're issuing a report, and as a result of which, and this model, we've got the device working in the hospital. However, in your own respective practices, it is my opinion that assessment should be separated from therapy. How do I structure that? The first session, for me, is always an assessment. I need to know where you're at if I'm going to support you. And that's not just through your intake information and your symptom complaints. Of course, I want to know about you and your symptom complaints, but I also then want to take the time that it takes to go through the matrix, understand you, so that I can then plan out my intention for therapy for the next, per se, 10 sessions. And that's, in fact, how I work. I do an assessment. Based on that assessment, I outline a 10-session treatise. And then I reassess at the end of that 10 sessions in order to see where I'm at. Now, this is structuring your practice and your usage of the device, in my experience, professionally. And it's also where you're going to understand and see your most benefit in working with the client, because you'll be working in a very focused way. Again, focus, focus, focus. So in my initial assessment, and this is why it's so important, how many use the device to try to understand the client? Right now. All of us, right? How long does it take you? How long does it take you to do the assessment portion of a session with a client? It takes you minimum 1 hour to assess, but how are you doing therapy at the same time? So you have to structure, in order to be able to do it, you have to structure a 2.5-hour session with your client in order to be able to both assess them and treat them in the same session? Test and session. In my experience, most of my clients don't have 2.5 hours to come in and don't like to come in for 2.5 hours. Life is busy. What? They do it, yeah, I hear you. Of course, and I'm not implying any way it's wrong. In my experience, I structure my first hour with that client. My first session is always assessment. Now, to do a proper assessment, in my understanding of how to use this thing, it takes you minimum an hour. Minimum. Why an hour? Because we literally have to go through system by system, organ by organ, and understand the pattern and the trend. But how many of us are actually structuring that hour to go through their matrices that way? Number one. Number two, how many of us actually know how to systematically even think about going through that and how to filter the information that we're looking at? Because you're looking at a lot of information. A lot of information. So how do we filter that information down? What are the trends for the device? Let's start here in our first filter of understanding assessment. So the first thing that we have to do is think about going through the body as a system. Meaning, if I start with digestion as the first system we're going to go through, we have to start with salivation, mastication, chewing and saliva, and take every process that we understand all the way to defecation and wiping. Meaning, saliva, mastication, stomach, what are the other sub-searches that we'd have to consider? Things like HCl, right? HCl, bile. This would be another sub-search. Enzymes, liver, gallbladder, pancreas. Small intestine, subsects of small intestine, if we can search them out in the matrix, or if you think you have a lot of need to go in specific, but small intestine, large intestine. We have to go through all of the fundamental aspects of digestion, everything involved within that system, search it all out, and profile the nature of what it is that we're seeing. With this device, it's profiling. It is not a diagnostic device or capable of being used solely for diagnosis. It is pre-diagnostic and diagnostic supportive. That doesn't mean, like all of us have seen, I can't pick out what you ate for lunch yesterday if it caused you stress and a problem. We've all done that. Said, oh, did you eat shrimp yesterday? And I'm like, yes. And my wife told me not to. That's always, that often happens, right? But going through system by system and breaking it down in a systematic way, and then knowing how to apply filters for the information that we're looking at. How many of you have run a test and then run another one immediately afterwards? How many have done that? Just for the sake of testing your machine.
Yeah, when the computer fails and you have to start again.
That too. There's one of the reasons. How about, I mean, when I first bought it, my belief system in this whole thing was very shaky. I was living in China. I hadn't seen it. In my mind, the device was this ginormous thing. It was huge in my mind because there were internet blocks in the internet in China, so I couldn't see any of the websites. So an aunt purchased, we were inspired to purchase. In my mind, this thing was giant. It had bells and whistles and stuff going on everywhere. It had a satellite dish because it's working on me from Canada to China. It's got to be huge, right? It's got to be huge. They hand me the little plastic box, and I'm like, oh shit, I've been suckered. On day one in the class, the lady sitting next to me says, did you know that Professor Nelson also occasionally likes to dress as a woman at the time, because there was Bill Nelson and Desiree then. And now I'm thinking, oh shit, I've been suckered by a very interesting, unique human being. Wasn't that? I just practice tact. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Next, my instructor at the time proceeded to tell us that reptiles, reptilian aliens, actually control the world, superimpose their will upon us, and it's okay because this device can work on that. So, oh shit, I've been suckered by an exceptional human being, and I've joined a cult. The next thing that happened was, in this class, we were going to confirm the efficacy, how well the device was testing, how accurate it was. The most advanced medical technology in the world, we were going to confirm its accuracy with a rock and a string. Oh, yep, the results of the test today are accurate. And I'm sitting here going, what? So I went home not believing in this thing at all. Thinking, oh shit, what have we done? The next thing I did was put toilet bowl cleaner, the stuff that you clean your toilet with, on the test plate. And I tested it against myself to see or prove that this thing is BS, right? And I got my result. I used the Meridian panel to test it, which says if things are positive, negative, very positive, or very negative. I ran it against my meridians. Everything was white, meaning this is the most ideal stuff that I could possibly ever be taking. I got on the phone and I screamed. I screamed at the person who taught me. Notice how I'm leaving their name out of it too? I'm being such a good boy this year. Okay. I screamed at them and I said, this thing is bullshit. I just tested positively to toilet bowl cleaner. How could that be? This was the best. You know what my answer was for that? Maybe your subconscious doesn't like to be asked stupid questions. So now I'm suckered by an exceptional person. I've joined a cult. We don't know what we're doing with this thing at all. And to finalize, cap the whole thing off, I'm stupid. Perfect. This is how we should introduce everybody to the most advanced medical technology in the world. Now, I would like to tell you, however, that it is by far one of the most advanced devices in the world. And I say that in a qualified way. We now have our second CFDA license in China. It's the same thing as the CE mark of the FDA, but actually, amazingly, China scrutinizes their regulations a lot harder than we do in Europe, Canada, or the US. It's amazing. It used to be that you could just be like, hey, could you put this through in China? No problem. But literally, right when my company started operating in China, the Minister of Health was executed. The Vice Minister was put in jail for 25 years for taking bribery and fast-tracking technologies, devices, and medications through, which was causing deaths in China. And so suddenly the FDA, Chinese FDA, came to a grinding halt, and we had to go through absolutely every hurdle, mogul, and bump in order to get our licensing through, which at the time felt like an affliction and a curse, but it led to us again getting to see stuff that none of us have ever seen. So I said the most advanced medical technology in my understanding in the world today. Check this out. In a government facility in Tianjin, China, as part of the FDA licensing in China, we tested what's called the device resolution, the sensitivity of the device. In Hungary, in US and Canada, some of the arguments for the lack of validity of our machine has always been, it's 1 to 4 volts. There's nothing going on in 1 to 4 volts. The body can barely even feel 1 to 4 volts. It's absurd. But when we tested the sensitivity, the resolution of the device, which means if I have a client hooked up, at what degree of subtle change electrically in the client's body can I register that change through my system? Your device proved to be sensitive, and this was the Skio. I imagine the Adducto is even more so, but the Skio in 2008 proved to be sensitive at 400 millionth of a volt. 400 millionth of a volt. And if our range is 0 to 4 volts, that's a hell of a lot of information available to us within that bandwidth, right? Within that range. And so it is by far the most sensitive technology that I've ever understood. The people sitting next to us testing another biofeedback system, Chinese, their jaw dropped. They said to my partners, how much are you selling this device for? This device should sell for $1 million. Their words verbatim. You can't help it. They're translating. You're so Jewish. It's disturbing me. Like the vault. I'm allowed to. I'm a member of the tribe. Okay, so understanding the resolution of your device, understanding how sensitive it is, understanding what it's capable of in supporting assessment and diagnosis, I want to share with you some of the things that I've learned. I asked you how many of you have run a test and then done another one immediately following it. What have you seen as the results? If I've done a test now and I do one a second, 5 minutes later, are the results the same? Are they totally different, seemingly? Totally different, seemingly, right? I mean, completely different stuff you're looking at. As a result of which, in my experience, many of the incorrect paradigms that have been taught to us over the years were created. So it used to be said, only ever run the test every 3 days. Some of the reasons for that was adaptation. If we present that stimuli too much, we adapt to the test, we don't react, and we don't get correct reaction. It was one of the justifications for this, right? But in truth, the real justification for this, and it was proven later in the software, was that they couldn't explain, other than explaining quantum events and basic quantum theory, they couldn't explain why it wouldn't reproduce its results. And of course, medicine, by its nature, wants something that will duplicate itself, right? The answer to that question, first and foremost, who knows why the device won't be able to repeat its results?
Water out of the river, you go back and get another one, and it's different because you've already put all that voltage through the body, and you can't.
So you've changed it as a result of the test.
Yeah.
Okay, we can even break that down simpler because you can hear those things like quantum events will never repeat themselves twice, right? That's the science to that answer. Okay, but pragmatically, how does it work? Practically, how does it work? Here, catch. Okay, but here, catch. The point is, the first time should have been a little bit of a fear. Did you see the quick little startle at the end once he realized what I was doing? There was a tad of like, oh. The second time he played along because he knew it was coming, right? He knew I wasn't going to throw it, and even if I did, it's a paper towel. Third time I got him. The point is, I can never respond to the same question twice. With the device and the test, you're presenting a stimulation, like I just did, throwing something at him. The body learns, and it learns quickly. However, it is incorrect that the device will not repeat its findings. And this was the first thing that we discovered at the Matrix, and I'm going to teach you how to understand that via our first filter of understanding assessment. Let's say we're going through the body and we're doing all of our sub-searches, meaning we're coming into the Matrix and we're searching saliva. And let's do digestion as a whole together, all right? So we're going to come in, we're going to type in saliva with a Hungarian keyboard. It's a little different. And we're going to click search. Okay. The first thing that I'm looking for, and remember, I don't work with SOC index, SOC input. So I always generally have an idea where my numerical values are. Anything over 100, I'm understanding as an acute stress, something prevalent in the forefront. Now, the first filter that we're going to apply when we start looking at our clients is the amount of reactions. So I've looked at saliva. You can see here I have one reaction which implicates potential stress in production of saliva. That's it. So there's likely not a ton of stress going on in saliva production. So now let's check out stomach. We could do teeth and all that stuff too, but we're going to be a little faster. Let's come into stomach and see how much stress we've got rocking in the stomach. And again, we're assessing stress by how many values do we see over 100. Okay, so there's two reactions here to stomach, one to saliva. It would appear that there's not a ton of stress going on digestively for this gentleman in the stomach or in saliva production. What about bile? One response to bile, and it's actually the same reaction as was the saliva one, giving it a little less credit, so we'll ignore that. Let's type in HCl. How much stress do we have to HCl? Okay, no reactions over 100 to HCl. There's definitely some stuff going on in chronic, but again, let's keep it simple for the time being. Okay, so acutely, there's no real prevalent stress in the forefront showing to HCl. Now, what about to the liver itself? Oh, we got a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 5 reactions to liver? Okay, so now we're seeing liver's rocking more stress than anything else that we've looked at thus. What about the gallbladder? One reaction to gallbladder, not a lot of acute stress in the gallbladder. What about small intestine? And with intestine, actually, it's difficult for you to differentiate by the design of the software. It's difficult to differentiate between small and large intestine because most items in the matrix have been loaded in as bowel, colon, intestine. So it's difficult to isolate because of the nature of the search function. So you can ultimately summarize based on the reactions that you're seeing if you want to discern more in the large or the small intestine, but we're limited in the test function searching pretty much to intestine. All right, so we had 5 to liver, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8 to intestine, and we could type in, let's say, enzyme. Now we pumped in enzyme, and we have, looking at reactions 100 and above, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about 12 reactions over 100 to enzyme. Interesting. Where are enzymes produced? Where should we look next for some of the potential stress? How about pancreas? P-A-N-C. And as a gift or a trend, just so you know, it's really good to shorten the words that you type in because there are many spelling mistakes within the matrix, and less is better in order to pull more. You understand what I mean? Okay. So we look at pancreas, finally. Search. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So fundamentally, what we've just done is gone through digestion. We're not seeing a ton of stress in this man's digestion as compared to most people that you'll actually look at, so good job on that. Clearly, eating a good Indian vegetarian diet is fantastic. It is. Well, look, you just saw the results of it, right? Oh, we should have pumped in Parasite as well. I can do that. All right. But you're seeing actually the effect of healthy eating habits, which is kind of rare. Para. Search. Okay. Parathyroid. And why don't we come in here and just use the worms. Worms. The word in Hungarian for worms is the same. I'm learning Hungarian as I'm lecturing. This is great. Okay, and looking at worms, we don't see a lot of parasitic stress. So the only major digestive stress that we see, or not even major, the only digestive stress we see consistently for this client in particular is enzyme support. So what I would recommend for you, my friend, is maybe the use of lipase, amylase, and or protease enzymes. A good enzyme for you to help break down your food better, get better nutritional absorption. But otherwise, your digestion looks surprisingly good. Props to Palak Paneer. Okay, so our first filter that we've applied now, just going through the digestion system, looking for how many reactions we have to a search, will show us and isolate where the stress is. So for example, I can tell you my digestive profile right now. And if we ran a test on me, as everybody who has been to my classes will see, that my stress resides in enzyme production, liver, and intestine. If we look also, we'll see parasitic stuff because I've lived a lot internationally and I don't take great care of myself. Shoemaker with no shoes, right? But the point is, I could run it and I could tell you that my profile would dictate that enzymatic insufficiency, because we'll see serious deficiency in enzyme production if we looked at mine. Enzymatic insufficiency is leading to poor breakdown of foodstuffs, which is then causing a toxic burden on the liver. Now, my profile on the device from test to test to test, as this gentleman's profile from test to test to test, if I ran his test again, what you would see again, the numbers would slightly change, the items would slightly change. However, the most reactive aspect of his digestion will remain as enzymes. And it will repeat itself from session to session to session until there's resolution. So yes, the specific items on the matrix will change. However, the trends and the patterns will not. So if today enzymes are the most stressed aspect of his digestive system, unless there's been a change or a correction tomorrow in 5 minutes from now, this evening, we're going to see the exact same profile for this gentleman, that enzymes are his most reactive stressor. So filter number 1, how many reactions are there? The amount of reactions dictates where the stress is. Do you understand? Okay, filter number 2. And we're going to only do the first 2 or 3 filters. Filter number 2 is, what is the implication of the reaction? What is the implication of the reaction? And why am I saying what is the implication of the reaction? Why am I not saying that this is the diagnostic system? How many of you have ever run a test on a sweet little old lady or a little old man, and the first thing that pops up is something like LSD? Many times, right? Many times. Why is it picking up on acid for an 80-year-old man that's clearly not going to Lollapalooza and doing acid and going, whoa, look at the pretty colors? Why is it there? Explain. Give me an answer.
I've never seen it.
Sorry? You've never seen that? What about crack amphetamine show for a lady that you know bakes cookies and doesn't smoke crack? You've seen that, right? Okay, we've all seen these. Why is that showing? Sorry? Sugar? That's an interesting one. You're not necessarily wrong. It's an interesting interpretation. Miasms? Entity? Enzymes? Okay, these are all cool ideas. Mine a little different. You have to think through a remedy, not directly as to what it is. So, for example, what is the effect of LSD, other than the trippy lowness or the crack amphetamine? What does crack do for you? It vastly increases dopamine and serotonin productions. It makes you feel good. It gives you energy. It takes you out of being agoraphobic. Enables you the ability to speak a lot about gibberish, right? But that's what it does. Same thing with acid. What does acid do? It changes your perception. How many of your clients come in telling their story of their trauma or their lifetime like this? Oh, I hurt my knee and my knee hurts every day. It's very painful. How many of them have that? And an attachment to that, right? Attachment to that story. But also, how many of them ended up having that knee problem, and as a result of that knee problem, ended up, you know what? I'm going to use my friend Oliver, who has a beautiful story of working with purchasing the device for his son. And as a result of purchasing the device to help heal his son and support his son, it's virtually the same thing. Actually, let's stay with the knee. It gets too complicated. So they come in and they have a knee problem, or they get into a car accident. But as a result of the knee problem and as a result of the car accident, they met their husband. As a result of the cancer, as an example, their family that all hated each other before the cancer, suddenly the cancer brought the family together. How many times have you seen that? So the reaction to acid isn't directly for LSD. The reaction for LSD isn't the device responding saying your client really wants to do acid or smoke crack. The response to those items is the body implying what it needs and what it wants. So with LSD, it's asking for a shift in perception. The nice thing with the drug is you don't have to get high to do it. Same thing with the crack. If it's asking for crack, it's asking really for a rush of dopamine, serotonin, in order to support energy states. So we need to think, rather than directly what the item is, what is the item implying? Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. Okay, so things then that have responded in the matrix via your test have responded for one of 6 reasons, one of 6 implications. What are they? What does it mean? Okay. There are 6 reasons why you're going to react to an item in the matrix. It's going to identify inflammation. Number 1, the reaction will be to support the release of inflammation. Second one, toxicity. The reaction will imply a toxicity. The body is reacting to that item to support the release of toxicity. Number 3, degeneration. The body is reacting to the item because the item will support the release of degeneration. Did I already do toxicity? Deficiency. Deficiency. Those reactions may be implying deficiency. Number 5, a blockage, like a meridian blockage, but not just. An emotional blockage, a mental blockage, a spiritual blockage, a blockage. And the 6th, which enables a little bit of gray area, imbalance or dysfunction, right? Because we'll see that remedy helps to support organ imbalance, organ dysfunction, and reharmonize it into a healthy pattern, healthy sarcotic pattern. But really, everything that has reacted in our test matrix is reacting for one of those 6 reasons. So now, if I go through my test matrix and I look at all the data as a result of a test, let's say I look at the 10, I looked at liver, I had 10 reactions over 100 to liver, I saw that liver was my highest stress, or enzymes in this case, then I'm going to start going through each one of those items and start seeing what is the trend, what is the implication, and what is the pattern. Meaning, what I'm going to see if I look at liver is maybe of those 10 reactions, 3 of which are degenerative reactions to remedies which support degenerative release, maybe 6 of them are toxicity, and maybe 2 of them are inflammation. So profiling the liver, what is its state? Again, how many reactions are there? 6 of them to toxicity is implying that the organ is predominantly toxic with some inflammation and some degeneration. But that's how we start to go through and profile quantitatively what is happening within a system and why are these items reacting this way? What is the story from the body? Now, if it looked like this in today's session, unless something has drastically changed, it will look like that in your next session, as it will look like that in others. Those are the 2 main filters that we need to apply in assessment. So if we just summarize where we are, the first things that we need to do is book a session solely for the purpose of assessment. Solely for the purpose of assessment, because you can see, in order to go through any body, there's a minimum of 70 sub-searches. To go through the whole body, 70 sub-searches that you're going to have to look at and do. How long is it going to take you to pump in 70 items into your matrix and look at them? It's going to take some time, right? Well, at the Olympics, we managed to get that down to about an hour, but this is how we did it. So it's going to take minimum an hour for you to punch this stuff in and profile system by system, organ by organ, where's the stress and what is the implication, what is the nature of that stress. What's crazy, I have software that does this all automated. This is not a commercial for that. But what's crazy is, you know how in so many of the health and healing books that we've read over the years, many of them pretty much say the same thing, which is that all disease is the byproduct of stress, sure, but what stress are they talking about? Deficiency and toxicity. And it's absolutely what you see when you look through my software profiling the body, is the body is under stress because it is deficient and it is toxic. I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's fundamentally where it's at. And again, going back to healing, that's why healing has to happen in that 3-part model, where we we first detox, then we support, then we stimulate. So understanding those two filters, first and foremost, will change, if you're not doing something similar already, will change how you're understanding your device, as a result of which it will change how you go about structuring your session, because now I've qualified, okay, I've looked at all the systems, the main stress going in the body is, let's say, in digestion. As a result of digestion, actually we can see on your matrix today, my friend, you have the lower back pain and you're not doing well, and you're struggling with moving forward with all this stress. So we'll leave that alone. We need to be able to repeat our findings and look at the matrix and see the pattern, the trend, and then from there design our treatise. There are other filters as well for being able to interpret, but they're more sensational, meaning you can actually learn to read based on reactivity values as a generality. You can actually learn when that stress was experienced. So it's one thing for me to say to you, oh, I see there's a lot of stress going on in your liver. It's another for me to say, oh, there was something that really happened with your liver about a month ago. Do you remember feeling improper? But that stuff's unnecessary because it's really sensationalizing the test matrix for the purpose of ultimately generally marketing the technology or marketing your therapy to solidify belief, which really, I don't know, we can do that another time. We don't have tons of time, and I wanted to take you through that right off the bat. How many have been doing something similar in their approach to client assessment? It kind of changes the dynamic way you think about the device. It breaks it down in a way that's systematic and duplicatable, able to be repeated, correct? That is one of the things I wanted to share with you first and foremost, because it will change your relationship with your device. It will also change your relationship with your client, because from this assessment, from this initial hour, I'm now going to be in a qualified place where I'm going to say to my client, look, based upon what I've seen today in your assessment, I would like to begin with 10 sessions focused around, for example, your digestion. And at the end of 10 sessions, we're going to reassess. It's so important to structure your practice this way. There's multiple reasons. First reason is, if you're having clients come in, see you once, and often not come back afterwards, it's your problem in how you're relaying the information of what the device is and how it's applied. Your clients come in under stress. They need you confident and knowing what it is that you want, because they want to give you their power. They want to give you their power, their trust, and their money to guide them through their healing experience. But they can't do that unless you present yourself as an authority. And for you, I don't imagine many of us have gotten involved thinking, hey, I want to look for the sickest people so that I can make tons of money, right? Any ambulance chasers in the room? Probably not. In fact, most of you have difficulty taking the money from your client, correct? That feels like a corruption often for the majority of you, yeah? It's because you didn't get into it from that place. But I will say this, the majority of the people in this room, I'll offer this to you, if the words business and money and things like that turn you off, it is very much because the nature of the people in this room, the nature of healer, is to be a great projector of love into the world. However, often you're very shitty receivers. You know what I'm saying? Hence why you have difficulty taking the energy back for your service, and why money and the idea of business with this practice is in some ways a corruption or a violation to the nature of your heart. But if you look at the rest of the patterns in your life, what you're going to discover is you're much better at giving and you're not so good at receiving, right? Here's the problem with that model. First of all, it's going to burn out. The heart is an electrical circuit, the body's an electrical circuit, energy has to come in and go out, right? Number one. Number two, you can be the most knowledgeable, and I'm sure there are many of you in here. How many of you have met some of the people in health practice whom are course junkies? They take this course, that course, this course, that course. They're always learning and they never feel ready. You know those people? And some of you laughing are probably those people. right? And what's amazing about those people is that the body of knowledge that they carry is profound. Like, they know so much great shit. But the problem is, if I'm not in a healthy balance and flow with bringing clients into my practice and telling them what they need, working with them, stipulating a minimum of 10 sessions, then first of all, I'm not giving myself the opportunity to actually help them, because unless I get the magic wand fix, which happens rarely, as we talked about earlier, that person's going and coming, never having realized the potential of your service, number one. Number two, you can know everything and be the best, mentally the best practitioner there is. However, if you're not seeing people regularly, you're not helping them, and if you're not helping them, you're a shitty practitioner. So it is your responsibility. Understanding, see, you heard business and how to structure your business. You didn't think it was going in this direction, right? But the reality is this. The better you are in business with your clients, which is to say, the more confident you are in your usage of the device and guiding them, telling them what it is they need from you and what it is that you can provide for them, the better you are at that, the more effective a practitioner you are, period. Period. And it is your responsibility. Absolutely your responsibility. And something that is counterintuitive for the majority of us. I really had trouble taking the money when I started. Now, if anybody wants to pay me, I'm totally open and welcome to receive. I accept PayPal, Visa. Okay, so that was assessment. Does anybody have any questions before I move out of assessment and start moving into some other areas? I know I went by it quickly. Normally I would take a whole day to take you through this and teach it. The lovely thing again is I have software designed to do this for you because we're all lazy and none of us actually want to do anything for ourselves. So if you want to buy my software that'll do it for you, that's available, and that's as much sales pitch as you're going to get from me. Yes?
What you were saying before about 10 sessions, what I'm having struggle with now is that they've moved on. Then they want to come back just to check once or twice a year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You're okay with that? I mean, that's something.
No, every time they come back in, that's an opportunity for me to guide them through another series of 10 sessions, minimum, right? Again, of course, because the reality is there are a couple things that are that are consistent in life, right? Birth, death, and taxes. Right? So, point is, you've always got stress. I've never run the test on this device and actually seen somebody come back and the device say, perfect health, reschedule in 2 or 3 years, this person is Buddha. Has anybody else ever seen that? Never seen that. Myself. And in fact, and here's some of the other things that we have to understand in how to apply the Salier pieces. For example, understanding alarm, adaptation, exhaustion, and how to profile those things through the matrix. Does everybody have a decent understanding of that and how it works? Let's take you through it very, very quickly. I'm a smoker. I know, bad me. I know so much better, and I have run the smoking program. I want you to know that it works. I'm not even joking. I ran it once when I first bought the device. It made the cigarettes so disgusting that every time I tried to smoke one, I wanted to vomit. That lasted for 3 days, and I just never ran that program ever again. True story. True story. I'm a smoker. How many of you tried a cigarette when you were in your teen years? Tried one. Come on. Right? You tried one cigarette. Be honest. A bunch of liars on this side of the table. And of course you tried it. Why? Because everybody's cool that smokes, right? You smoked a cigarette for your first time. How did you feel when you smoked that cigarette? You felt dizzy, sick, and shitty, right? Okay. The dizzy, sick, and shitty is the alarm reaction. It's your body saying you've brought in a toxic stressor. This is not okay. You're going to feel dizzy, sick, and shitty to know better. Some of you, some of me, didn't learn from feeling dizzy, sick, and shitty because feeling cool was more important, right? We kept smoking. It didn't take long, and soon I could smoke a cigarette and not feel dizzy, sick, and shitty. So we can summarize one of two things has happened. Number one, by smoking more cigarettes, they become less toxic. Right? The more cigarettes you smoke, the less toxic they are. Anybody buying that? Because I didn't feel sick and shitty anymore. I just felt okay. Why? The body adapted. I moved into the second phase. Now, you have to understand, the Sallier stress responses works in two ways. Number one, it works as a reaction system to individual stimuli, smoking, cocaine, good nutrition. Everything you do is going to go through the Sallier response of either an alarm reaction, meaning if we look at it from a positive, because many of you have this paradigm that alarm is a bad thing. Alarm's great. It's actually one of the best things that can happen in the device because it means your body's talking to you, right? So, for example, how many of you are really disciplined? Like this gentleman here, you only eat vegetarian, maybe 6 almonds in the morning, only organic. How many of you are like this? A couple, right? Oh, yeah, of course. Of course it's you, Jose. Let me ask you, what have you wouldn't even do this, so you screw up my whole setup in the first place. But if we were to send her to McDonald's, or your clients that are very sensitive and very clean, if we sent them to McDonald's to eat a cheeseburger, how are they going to feel? They're going to feel sick and shitty because the alarm reaction is going off. But what about when you drink like an amazing superfood? Like how many are rocking like some really cool superfood Zija or whatever have you, like the good stuff, the good moringa. How do you feel after you have a moringa? Huh? You feel shitty after moringa? Don't use that. It's not good for you. But if you use like a high quality greens, generally most of us will drink it, and other than the fact that most of them tend to taste like shit, you should feel pretty good afterwards, right? You just put in all this really high quality macronutrient great fuel into your body, and then you had an alarm reaction and you felt great. So don't always think of the alarm mechanism as a negative reaction. It's merely the feedback system from your body. Okay? Alarm is your feedback system. Now you have that reaction, that response, ideally, to every stimuli you present to your body. Now, as we go through a life, we collect stress. Except for Geert, because he's perfect. So the rest of us go through life, we accumulate stress, but Geert is so happy. And the Sallier stress mechanism then starts to not only work as an individual response to stimuli, but as a body as a whole. So that now I smoke cigarettes, I can go to McDonald's, and I can drink shitty beer, and I can wake up the next day and feel mostly good. And it isn't because I've learned how to harmonize tobacco, alcohol, and shitty food, and it's just the perfect fuel for me. No, it's because my body is operating like a K car. You know, those shitty old piece of crap cars? Whereas somebody that's healthy is operating like a Ferrari. But my body moves into an adaptive phase because of all the stress of smoking, alcohol, etc. And then my body has a phase, so not just my individual reaction to stimuli, my body as a phase is now in an adaptive state whereby no matter what I put in there, I'm not feeling anything. Well, that's fantastic. It's a great place to be because you can pound cheeseburgers like they're going out of style, but it's not making you healthier, right? You're in an adaptive phase. Now, here's what's happening. On a daily basis, when I was young and not toxic and not smoking cigarettes, homeostasis, my stress balance, was down here. Not a lot of stress going on. My body is able to do everything it needs to do throughout a day. Plenty of energy for immuno repair, plenty of energy for everything. But I kept going. I smoked cigarettes every day. I got more and more toxic. And every time my body had its alarm reaction, adaptation reaction individually, but eventually those reactions grew to such that my body now has to maintain all of these different toxic items emotionally, physically, and mentally that it's learned to adapt to. And my body moves into an adaptive phase whereby I'm no longer sensitive to toxic stimuli. I don't have my feedback loop of these greens make me feel good. The cigarette makes me feel like shit. I'm in an adaptive phase. I don't feel anything. When you're in an alarm phase on your matrix, what you should generally see is half a page, 3/4 of a page of reds. When you're in an adaptive phase, very often what you'll see is very few reds on the matrix. This does not mean your client is healthier. It means that the client is not reactive, their body is slow, sluggish, and non-responsive, and it's actually one of the most dangerous profiles that you can see with someone when they're in an adaptive phase, because there's no feedback loop for them. The reinforcers are gone, the built-in ones. And then when you see page upon page upon page of reds, which we've all seen as well, right? That's when you've hit exhaustion. Now what's happened in exhaustion is the body is literally exhausted. It's saying, I can't do it anymore. I cannot maintain these adaptations and have you feeling okay and not feeling like shit all the time. I can't hold them back. You're too toxic. The stress is too much. We break the mechanism. We end up in exhaustion, whereby everything that it's been holding in an adaptive state, maintaining as adaptations, everything is now circulating again in the reactivity forefront. You're feeling like shit because you just got hit by every adaptation your body's made as it works to reestablish its homeostasis. You understand what I mean? So these are all factors that we have to consider when we're applying test and therapy. What phase are we in reference to exhaustion? Then from there, we start booking our sessions. In our sessions, we start doing the work. Now, if I have somebody in exhaustion, is this a great day to push heavily on them? Therapeutically? Hell no. It's the day to nurture, love, and support, which means sometimes it even takes precursive work of just fundamental stress reduction before you can even start detox. Because to take a deficient body and ask it to do something for you, in some ways is a corruption. So sometimes what we just have to do is support general release of stress before we can start working fundamentally through the system and start working to support these patterns. Okay. Before I move into the specifics, and I will cover the hormones, I promise you I'm getting there. Yes, I have some requests for hormone balancing, both for stimulation and sport performance, but also for generalized stuff like menopause, working to balance out serotonins and dopamines, which is a huge issue for many of our clients, most of our clients actually, and we'll talk about all that stuff, but it'll all start here anyway, so let's start here. What is your startup procedure? What is, when you bring a client into your office, what do? Therapeutically, what are the first things that you tend to do in every session? Besides talk to them, I mean through the program, and in fact, I really don't like to talk to them very much anymore. What?
Test them.
After the test, today is not a testing assessment today. We've already assessed, we know what we're doing. Today's a therapy day. When you put your clients on therapy, on the device, first steps that you do when you're doing therapy on your clients every session? Minerals and enzymes, okay? What about short sarcodes? Was anybody taught do the minerals, do the short sarcode panel, do the risk profile, right?
Autonomic nervous.
Sorry?
Autonomic nervous.
Well, that is because you attended my lecture before.
There we go.
Okay. In my experience, where it needs to start every time, incorporating the understanding of biofeedback and biofeedback entrainment, where it needs to begin every time is in fundamental relaxation, resetting the stress mechanism. Okay? The autonomic nervous system, the ANS, autonomic nervous system, is what regulates the stress state of the body and how each organ is responding subsequently. Plus, what we're doing is training. We want to train, we want to reinforce, we want to introduce the body to the ideas of the device, and we want to be consistent. So for me, every session starts the same way. If you want to do the mineralizing, that's great. One of the things I would recommend is hitting the matrix and looking for megamins. Does everybody know megamins as a result? Okay, we'll just come in really quickly. And with megamins, I get 76 ionized minerals in one. So rather than going through the mineral panel, mega, M-E-G-A, the number is 5031. So with megamins, if I want to do a little bit of mineralization before I begin my process, because I need to give them some fundamental building blocks, I'll often do this. I may come in and also, my favorite, I'm going to come in, find megamins, and I'm going to treat it, not zap it. So I'm going to treat it, 7-second treat, until I achieve excellent shaping function status on my matrix. Okay, shaping function status is depicted up in the top right. I don't have a laser pointer. Anybody have a laser pointer? Okay, up in the top right, and it is my feedback system when I'm nailing stuff in the matrix for how well it's been received. Shaping function is by far one of the most important feedbacks you can get from the device because it's an understanding in cymatics, meaning what you're sending into the body, more so than rectification. Rectification is like tuning the piano, okay? Shaping function is different. Shaping function is the recognition that, in fact, what you're sending out of this machine is not a frequency per se, it's a holographic image. It's a cymatic image. If you've ever heard Desi explain how she records items into the matrix, she uses a device called the QQC. The QQC is designed to take 8,000 calculated measures of the shape of an item. So it's literally a multidimensional cymatic, a shape that we're sending out. Now, this may not be happening via the oscilloscope, but it is most certainly happening via the radionics or subspace functions that are always turned on in tandem with the device. So it's working to send a cymatic, and the shaping function is, in essence, measuring that person's field. How well has the shape been received? Why that's important is because some of the early rules or knowings that many of us understood when we first got our device, which is to say the frequencies will stay in the body for up to 3 days. Remember we've heard that? Well, really what we're talking about is the integrity of the shape. And why is shape so important? In some of Desi's early lectures, it was awesome. He explained how that worked. So, for example, if I have coffee and tea on the table right now, this is the fundamental principle in homeopathy. If I have coffee and tea on the table right now, how do I discern which one is coffee and which one is tea? The taste. But what is taste? Taste is actually the shape. I'm able to differentiate between coffee and tea because of my nasopharynx. My nasopharynx is actually measuring the difference in the shape of coffee compared to the shape of tea. So shaping function as your feedback system for zapping is, in my experience, the best thing you can always be looking at to see how well is the body receiving the shape of what it is that you're sending. Okay? So, megaminds, we can come in, we can do megaminds as a precursive to starting our session. This is going to take, to get the shaping function, maybe, and when I offer you protocol, it's important because I consider your practice as I consider my own. You only have generally an hour. Right, an hour, hour and a half, depending on how you're doing your scheduling, but usually you have an hour with a client. And if you're still doing the 3 and 4 hour sessions, poor clients, man, poor clients. I remember my first session, I think it was like 13 hours. Yeah, the person did not feel good after, but thank God it was my wife. She forgave me, that's why. Okay, so the first thing I would do is come in, hit the megaminds. Second thing I would do is come in and type in Nelson. And with Nelson, we'll get a bunch of combination Nelson remedies that I've always just come to like to use, and particularly the one I'm looking for here is the fatty acid stimulator. So Nelson fatty acid, where is it? Nelson fatty acid remedy. And I like to hit them with fatty acids. To me, the most important things to do is nail nutrition, nail the minerals, nail the fatty acids. We've given the foundational, fundamental building blocks. Now we can start saying, okay, you're nurtured enough. And sometimes I'm not the most compassionate of practitioners, but let's get working. Now, for me, it all begins by coming in after you've done all your setup, and there are steps to this which I will give to Andrew for you to actually follow it along if you'd like on a presentation, so you'll be able to download it from their website for the actual steps to doing this, but I'll abbreviate it quickly so we can get through more material today. Ultimately, taking all the additional programs out of consideration, what you're going to do is just come into the electrophysiological oscillation freak panel. Much nicer when it was called EEG, ECG, but physiological oscillation freak. And we'll start with vagus nerve. We're going to balance out the vagus nerve until we achieve 85% or better rectification. In the earlier days with your clients, 85 ain't bad. As you push them further and keep going with them, you want a higher percentage of rectification response. So in the beginning, I'm fine with 85% or better when I work with my clients. As I progress over a period of time, because what I consider is that I'm training. If I train the dog and I tell him to come and he comes 85% of the time, is that enough? No, because one of the times in that other 15%, he's going to not come when I call him and get hit by a car. Right? So eventually I want to teach that dog, if I say come, you come. Right? I want 100% rectification eventually. But initially when you're starting with your clients, they're in a deficiency state. Their body is not necessarily obedient, and so we can be a little lenient in the process of training. But eventually you should be working to push them to higher points of rectification, especially if you're taking them through consistent steps. Now, what I'm sharing with you is what I do with every client every time they walk in my door. It's always this to begin the session. It takes 10 minutes, 10 or 12. How many minutes does it take you, Jose? About 12 now? To do your startup procedure, how long does it take you these days? 10, 12 minutes. 10, 12 minutes, you can get through it. But initially, when you first start trying to take yourself through this, it'll take you likely about 20 until you get used to navigating it a lot, and then you can start getting through it quicker. But what's happening and why I'm doing this? So we're first going to do the vagus nerve, get our rectification. Then we're going to do the sympathetic nerves. Then we're going to do the parasympathetic nerves. Bless you. From there, after we do this, and here's a quick trick for most of you, after we've balanced out in here, the next thing we're going to do is match the brain waves to the nervous system. So we're going to come into the brainwave pattern, and we're going to, most of the time, click on select theta on the left-hand side. And there's a reason I said most of the time, and I'll clarify in a moment. But we're going to come in, we're going to set to either theta or alpha, most of the time theta, some of the time alpha. And we're just going to, by clicking next to the item, we're going to come down to where it says clicked, treat clicked items. And we're going to hit this 10 times. 10 times, we're going to press the button 10 times. Treat clicked item. It's about a 7-second treat. It's not a long one. Now, the reason for this, how many of you have used the brain panel before? How long does it generally take when you use it the classic way to get the pattern correct on the right-hand side? But it can also take 5 or 10 passes, right, of pressing start sometimes, 5 or 10 times, because sometimes the brain in particular is really obstinate. With most people, it's minimum 3 or 4, right? Some people can be 5, 6, or 7 times you have to run this panel to get the brain to come into balance. Well, actually, there's a little bit of a trick to it. The brain is brilliant. Like, it's the coolest thing you have, by far. And with a little bit of love and support, it will perform very, very quickly. What we're doing right now is actually patterning the brain. Most of us are stuck in a sympathetic nervous system state all the time, go, go, go. And we're matching go, go, go with beta brainwave imbalance. So we're in a beta focus, and the autonomic nervous system at best is stuck in the sympathetic nerves. At worst, the central nervous system has actually taken over and the autonomic nervous system has turned off, but that's a whole other lecture for a whole other time. But we're just going to come, we're going to select that theta, and we're going to click it 10 times. Now, I said most of the time you'll use theta, some of the time you'll use alpha. It has been my observation that when I work on clients that are more elderly, that I can start working with them with theta for maybe the first 4 or 5 sessions, but the effects are cumulative. You'll see that it's quicker every time and deeper every time the client comes in, that you entrain the same thing over and over again with the client, that they're able to use these theta brainwaves and go deeper into trance. Problem is, I've noticed with elderly people, it's difficult sometimes to get them out of it. So they start to feel like they're in between worlds. Okay? Same thing when, for example, you work with somebody who has had brain injury. Anybody with traumatic brain injury is generally in a theta pattern and stuck there. That's why they describe feeling not here and not there, but in between worlds. It's because they're stuck in a theta loop as a protection mechanism of the brain as a result of the trauma. So with brain injury and or seniors, in my experience, you're actually better to train to alpha than you are to train to theta, and you'll have much better results bringing especially traumatic brain injury back into healthy, balanced, functioning brain by patterning alpha patterns, releasing the stress, patterning alpha, which is a slower brain or a faster brainwave than theta, and bringing them much closer to a balanced beta. Again, if you understand what I mean. Okay, so we've done it how many times? Maybe about 8 or 9 at this point that I've clicked. So, and remember, they're very quick. Had I just been clicking, this would have been faster. But by clicking 9 or 10 times in either theta or alpha, what I've done is reminded the brain that it doesn't have to be stuck in overdrive all the time, that in fact there are better feelings, and the brain will very quickly get this message, so that most times just doing what I just did right there by stimulating alpha or theta 10 times, the first time I press start, the brain will come into perfect pattern and balance. Okay? Which is, in my opinion, like super cool. When I started seeing that happen consistently as a trend, I was like, hells yeah, we're seeing consistency. Anytime I can observe the same thing happening again and again and again, that excites me with this thing, because I can put rhyme to that reason, right? So we brought the client in. Every single session, they come in this way. I'm going to quickly mineralize, support fatty acids, and from there, I'm going to stabilize the autonomic nervous system and pattern them into the brainwave, which correlates to bring them into the parasympathetic. What I'm really looking for from the client is, when you get that parasympathetic release, you're going to notice your client is open. The door is open. I am now ready to receive. However, when you get those clients that come in and are alarming, everything you do, they're alarming like crazy. The reason is because they're still in a sympathetic state. They can't receive anything. They're just in go, go, go. Think about yourselves. You know, when you're really, really stressed, your husband can come home and he can say, do you know where my socks are? And just asking you where your socks are can be like, I don't know where your socks are. And you can have a massive reaction to just where his socks are. But other times, you're not so stressed, and he says, do you know where my socks are? And you're like, oh, sweetie, you're so forgetful. You know I put them in the drawer, baby. Right? What's the difference in those reactions? Well, the amount of stress that you're carrying, right? And so he can receive the feedback when I'm lovely and sweet, but right? Inevitably, you can't accept any more stimuli. Me asking, because she's under so much stress today, do you know where my socks are? Inciting such a reaction is like us taking a client that raced traffic to get to their appointment on time, is worried about what time they have to pick up the kids, go grocery shopping, and what they're cooking for dinner that night, and they're coming in with all that stress and tension, and if we don't address fundamentally in the beginning the autonomic nervous system in the brain to support them into that parasympathetic release, then they're going to be a lot more resistant to the energetic that you're trying to share with them and support them in achieving a better state of health and vitality. Makes sense, right? Now, what I've done by doing this every single session, what I've done is I've repeated the same training to the body, to the dog. I have taught the dog come, the dog has learned come. Now what's cool about this is how many of you have ever done meditation? Put your hands up. How many of you, the first time you did meditation, were able to become totally zen? Like you were there, man. It was like perfect. You went to Venus, you got out of duality, you experienced the singularity. Venus was all love, you were getting kisses, it was fantastic. How many of you were able to do anything like that your first meditation? None of you? Oh, really? None of us. Of course, we had to train ourselves how to meditate, how to relax, how to achieve those states of relaxation. Now, the more you meditated, the more you did meditation, were you able to get to those places and deeper quicker? Of course, right? I remember when I was a kid, I had a meditation tape. My parents were like taking Esalen and Psi and all these. We were a really fucked up family. So we were all doing meditation and inner child work. It was very interesting being 13 and releasing my inner child. I think I'm still my inner child at 13, but that's what we were doing. And so I was learning to meditate at 12, 13 years old. For whatever reason, I thought meditation was like a dirty word. So weird. He's a meditator, right? Anyway, as I did meditation more and more, listened to the tape more and more, it got to be that just the act of putting the cassette player into the cassette and pressing play, and getting into a deep relaxation. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? I want somebody to study that. Why if one person yawns do the rest of us start yawning? Wouldn't that be interesting? I totally want to know the answer to that question. Somebody asked it on the plane and it's been haunting me ever since. I don't know the answer. But point is, anyway, client walks in. Every single time I've taught them this. When you come to my office, the first thing that's going to happen every single time is the release of the stress in your ANS. Your brains is going to move into a different pattern. Every time you come in, you're going to be... And because I reinforce it from session to session to session, and this is the first 10 minutes of the introduction of my client, because I've reinforced it and I've trained it over and over again, what happens is I get that client into a deep state of relaxation, as a result of which my client is able to receive the effects of my session in a much more profound way. And putting it to the test, how many of you use my startup, what I've outlined here? Put your hands up. it change your cause and effect in your observation of the client? Did you find that you were able, come on, I can't hear you. Were you able to go deeper, faster, and better with your client as a result of it? Yes. So super, super important in my experience. This is where every therapy should begin, is with startup procedure, paradigming a parasympathetic healing state in tandem with theta or alpha brainwaves, which matches that state of relaxation. Then we have the client open and ready to receive. Some of the things that were taught to me in the beginning were like, never let your client sleep during a session. Anybody else get that one? Never let the client sleep during a session. I was actually taught if he's sleeping, wake him up. The justification at the time was that they're not consciously able to support, and in my experience, that's totally bullshit. I don't want his conscious mind. I want to access his unconscious, whereby I can support healing. It's actually, how many are indigo users in here? It's actually one of the fundamental mistakes in the design of indigo originally. Do you remember the big thing that they said when we had indigo was, you can really feel this one? You remember? That was one of the sales pitches to the indigo. And it's a great device. I'm not shitting on the device in any way. It's a great device. But one of the things that they used as part of its sale was, you can really feel this, where most people don't feel the ski or the adductor unless they're sensitives. This one you can really feel. And you know why? Because they upped the power output to 5 volts. So you can feel, you can't feel generally for most people 4 volts and less. At 4.5 to 5 volts, you can feel that intervention. Why is that not better? Like we were talking about, do I want to deal with the conscious brain or the unconscious? If I feel it, it's no longer unconscious. What is your reaction personally to feeling an electric shock? Is it a pleasant feeling for you? I mean, there are some of you that are probably into that. Please keep it to yourselves and do not dress in leather when you come here next time. However, the majority of us do not enjoy the experience of electrical stimulation, correct? Like even a TENS machine it feels horrible. Does anybody actually like the feeling of a TENS? Maybe when it's offering symptom release, but the natural reaction to electrical stimuli is to pull your finger back. You know, you get a shock from the outlet, and somebody gives you the carpet shock, and you jump. So inevitably, you're resisting, right? We don't want to deal with the conscious mind. That is not access to the unconscious where healing happens. We always want to access that unconscious, hence it's so important to get them into that relaxed state. To get them sleeping is where they're most vulnerable. You could totally take out a chainsaw and cut their head off, but they're in trust and they're giving you that trust. They're able to fall asleep, as a result of which they're able to receive. So that's my 2 cents in regards to assessment, in regards to how a session should start. Next. Oh, what happened to the brain? Holy shit! Look at that. You ever seen that? How many of you have seen that haven't seen my lecture before? Look, normal pattern is 64. Everything else is like half of it. First time I press start. Cool, right? I know. It's awesome. I just came in, I stimulated theta 10 times, 10 quick clicks, and then I press start. But only once. Usually you press start, 4 or 5 times to get the brain to pattern correctly. Now it patterned the first time. It's pretty awesome. And look at the elevation in theta wave as compared to the beta, as compared to the alpha. We have vastly increased theta activity. This is not measuring, like if you ever were to back this up to an EEG, or EKG rather, EEG. If you were ever to back it up, you'll find that it does not. meaning what's depicted here will be different than the wave majority that you're seeing necessarily through the other device. The reason being is because in here we're in essence measuring power, brain power. We're not necessarily measuring the specific waveform. So how much within the bandwidth and the spectrum, how much of that bandwidth is in an alpha power, how much is in a theta, delta, etc. There's a really cool HRV device that you can get on the market. You guys have it in Europe as Dynamica or HeartQuest. You can buy it in the States and Canada as VitalScan and or HeartQuest. I don't represent it or sell it or have anything to do with it, but it does beautifully back up what you're seeing in the brain power through heart rate variability as to the measurements you'll see here, which is one of the things that gave me great faith in really what we were patterning and what we were doing. Plus, it's really cool. Like, has anybody ever played with this panel on their own? Like, just messed around with it? You want to have a really cool experience? Put yourself in the harness, spend an hour clicking on theta, and see where it takes you. It's very cool. I mean, if you can keep yourself awake, you will start having some pretty crazy visuals. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. It's very cool. Try it for yourself. Like, this is how I learned the device, was I experimented on my clients and on myself. And I broke every rule, and in breaking the rules, I found some pretty cool stuff. Experiment. Have fun. Can't hurt them. And if you do, you can always balance it back out. Yes? You get it a lot less. You get the emotional. So Geert was asking me, doing things this way, sometimes you'll get a little yellow box that pops up that'll say stuff like covert emotional tension, vitamin deficiency pattern, and it's talking about all the different additional stress factors on the brain, which are clearly contributing to more stress than usual on the brain. And so it will pop up if your client's in distress or holding that distress via the brain. In my experience, by stimulating the theta or the alpha this way and running this way, yes, you'll see far less of the covert emotional tension and things like that pop up, because you've sort of gone around it by stimulating them into that theta state. What you'll also see by doing this is that you have far less alarm reactions in a session. Far, far, far less. Like, my clients generally don't alarm anymore. And reframe how you understand an alarm reaction. An alarm reaction, pending you've relaxed them, an alarm reaction is better feedback than is rectification. Because when I get an alarm reaction, as an example, let's say her rotator cuff is torn and I stimulate her shoulder and I get an alarm reaction. What's happened? Her body, via the alarm reaction, has just identified to me that I've found the issue. And it said, oh shit, and it had a reaction. Isn't that what we want? Right? So it's feedback that I'm in the right place, but it's also feedback that if I keep pushing through, so when I get an alarm, I don't shy away and be like, oh no, alarm, go over here. I keep pushing until I break through. And that's when I get symptom relief, most often. So reframe how you understand the alarm reaction, because in my understanding of it, it is the best feedback I can get from a client, because if I found the sore spot, that person should say, ouch. Right? Right. Okay, so now this is startup procedure. We've done this, we've done assessment. I'm going to start moving into some other cool areas and just take you through panels. Yesterday we talked about sport and performance. I'll start there and show you what I've done. Now, I have never in sport performance, I've never used the streaming functions. Like Desi, after I came back from the Olympics, talking about what we had done, the research that we did, what we saw, that's when Desi started building the streaming buttons based upon that work. I never found the autofocus buttons to be as effective. like in the cause and effect that I was observing working with the clients. So when I do this work, I'm solely using the sport program. So we're going to come into programs and down to muscular re-education for athletes. Where is it? Anybody see it? Or did they call it the sport program again? Down, up. Ah, perfect. Muscle re-education for athletes. It used to be called the sport panel. It was much nicer when it was called the sport panel. Wish they hadn't changed the names of a lot of this stuff because now it's super counterintuitive, but let's go into muscle re-education for athletes. Sport panel.
Oh, you need to send me an email overall, and we can...
I will do this. Okay, muscular re-education for athletes. Don't only think about this panel solely as an enhancement panel, because it's really not. Okay, this is one of the best hormone panels that you can use in the device. Period. First thing we'll look at is stimulation, because that's what we're talking about and what I did working in the Olympics. So it was very simple. There's nothing overly complicated about this. The first thing we're going to come and do is come into the sport panel next to growth hormone. We're going to put the check mark. We're going to come down to where it says testosterone and male androgens. And then in order to balance out any immunoresponses, as well as to just further support white blood cell activity, because athletes are training so hard, especially right before performance, that they are really in a state of compromise. Right? And we want to balance out the white blood cells as we're stimulating the production of red blood cells. And remember, really the purpose of stimulating the testosterone certainly is to get the body to hyperproduce red blood cells. That's the purpose of this, is more red blood cells. More red blood cells carry more oxygen, as we talked about yesterday, which then lead to greater performance. So first we're going to set to the growth hormone, to the testosterone and male androgens. We're going to then come down here to the left where it says stimulate hormones clicked above. Okay, stimulate hormones clicked above. Now the cool thing, because I always struggled with the program, or at least did initially, in believing that what I think I'm setting is actually doing something, right? And especially considering this panel, most people often don't understand, this panel operates based on this start button and the timer off here on the right-hand side, but that's the start button and the timer from the other panel that's behind it, and I never had a lot of faith in the fact that this was actually doing what I said or set it to do, right? The cool thing about the testosterone is that it gave me faith that in fact I am actually stimulating testosterone. Notice what happens when I come down and I press start. So to reiterate, I came into the sport panel, I set to growth hormone, I set to testosterone and male androgens. Now some of you may ask, what about the dopamine? What about the endorphins and the cortisols? Could we cortisol decrease? Could we cortisol increase, depending on the athlete? Absolutely we could. In my experience, however, unless you were to do a session where you were pumping the dopamine and the endorphins right before a competition, I mean literally right before, the stimulation of those hormones / chemicals, peptides, ultimately burn out really, really quickly. Hence, I don't add them to the cocktail for the purpose of training, but if the athlete was about to perform, then I might boost them. The thinking in that manner and what I've seen is it's very much like what's described by runners. Anybody here a runner? No? Good. Running sucks. But anyway, when you run and you hit the wall, as a runner will describe it, I worked with a lot of marathoners. When they hit the wall and they puncture through it, what happens is they get a massive release of endorphins and dopamines, which lead them to that ability to just take it to the next drive once they push through the wall. Hitting an athlete right before competition with these same things can support and enable them like nitrous in an automobile. It's a fast, quick burn, lots of extra speed, but will not last or sustain. Hence, think about who you're doing it with. If you're doing the 50-meter dash or an athlete that's, running a very short competition, speed-based, I would use them. If I'm using a runner that's marathon running, I would not use them, because it's going to mess with the cadence of the flow of that athlete's race. You understand what I mean? Okay. So anyway, with the testosterone and the growth hormone, we're going to set it. We're going to set the IgA, the IgM, the IGF, the IgG. We're going to stimulate hormones clicked above. You're going to set your timer off to the right here by dragging down this little doohickey nubby thing. I wish they would just standardize all the timers. Wouldn't that be much easier? But you're going to drag down to the amount of time you want to set. Let's say 15 minutes, and then you're going to press start. Now, the cool thing that happens when you're treating with testosterone is this, and this was confirmation for me that this was all working, right? Press start. Stimulating the testosterone can be dangerous to homeostasis, and in truth, it can be. Like I said, when we did this with the girls, it wasn't dangerous per se to homeostasis, but it certainly wasn't pleasant. I mean, menstruation was painful, skin breakouts, mood was horrible, but in regards to what we were looking for, which was performance, that there was, right? So you're never doing this kind of work for the purpose of like genuinely loving and caring about the athlete. Certainly not this way. Yeah. It's an interesting question. It's been theorized in the past that doing things, for example, like the increase of circulation or growth hormone, if there's tumorous growth in the body, that we may increase the size of tumor as a byproduct of the circulatory and growth hormone increase. It's been theorized, and some people have had those cautions. Those cautions have never been offered or based in evidence. Meaning nobody's ever been in observation of, oh, I did that and the tumor doubled. Do you know what I mean? But I can't offer you a qualified statement to the latter either. So my answer to that would be, in truth, I don't know. My feeling to that, however, in what I've seen, granted I don't know that I've worked on too many athletes with tumors that I souped up their hormones that I was aware of. I mean, we all have tumors all the time, right? I think I changed my understanding of a tumor personally, so I don't believe that it's going to elevate or escalate the growth of tumor. Personally, I don't believe tumor works that way. To me, a tumor is the accumulation, compilation of emotional conflict and trauma, which has grown to exactly the size it needs to contain the toxic information that's there. Heavy statement, right? Do you know what I'm saying? I'll give you an example. My mom had a myxoma. Do you know what a myxoma is? It's a tumor in the left ventricle, right? Left or right? Left. It's a tumor in the left ventricle. Now, the story of my mom, 6 marriages. My mom's like an alpha type female. So every marriage that doesn't actually work, she takes it internally as though there's something wrong with her. And in truth, there probably is, but we're not telling Mom that. The reality is, every single one of those emotional upsets she's taken and sustained into the heart over a lifetime. As a result of which, in my understanding and opinion, all of that information is stored there. This is really the basis of Homer-based medicine. I'll give you a more experiential than just hearing about my mom. You remember the first time your heart was broken? Yeah, you were dating Jane and you had your first kiss on the playground, and then Jane liked Billy and started dating Billy, and you felt that where? You felt it in your heart, right? Remember the first time you had to get up here and do what I'm doing as a kid and speak publicly? Where did you feel that? Stomach, right? We all got the butterflies in our stomach and our throats closed. So all of us had the same emotional stimulations And we all felt them in the same places in the body. So every emotion that we have is stored very specifically in a center, and we all store this stuff in the same way. So my mom took blow after blow after blow to the heart. The energy of your body, the chakra system, the meridian system, the cell stores the history of you and the trauma. Now, when that toxicity, those toxicities that mom sustained to the heart become more and more and more and more and more, in essence, like a computer, it's now got a virus, and that aspect of the hard drive is viral. It's repeating itself, it's duplicating, it's toxic. And the body, the hardware, eventually gets to a point where it says, I can't support this, maintain health and homeostasis, and support this information, I need to contain it. The containing of that information and the cutting it off from the rest of the cells is a tumor. So for me, that's the construct of tumor. So hence, when I do this kind of work, I do it fearlessly, even though I've been told those same, told those same things. The reality is, I don't believe I can cause harm with this device by its design. And so I work fearlessly with those things, in my experience, because I also don't believe tumors work that way. Okay, so, yes.
If you click on stimulate hormones, click what's happening in comparison of when you click start.
When you click stimulate, oh, you mean the one at the left right there? Oh, it's a totally different thing. It's designed to also correlate to, well, first of all, it's a quick blast. It's like 20 or 30 seconds, and it taps into emotional stuff as well. So it's sort of a multiple aspect, one that you may want to conclude with after you've run for a period of time, but A, it's a quick blast, B, it's not entirely stimulating those hormones so much as it's more working to stimulate the hormonal system. Do you know what I mean? And also doing so in correlation to the release of emotional blockage, which may be causing the repression of hormones. Do understand this. Your hormones are the chemical expression of your emotions. Your hormones are the chemical expression of your emotional perception of self. Yeah, please.
I have an athlete, I'm treating an athlete, a runner.
Yeah.
If you look at age,
Yeah.
I mean, especially with marathon people,
Please be quiet. Sir?
people that run marathons,
Yeah, people that run marathons that are getting older, the body isn't repairing, regenerating as quickly, yes.
but sometimes they can perform better.
Sometimes they can perform better.
Yeah, what I've read in articles is that the older they get, they can perform better because their body is more in balance, or they're more in balance with their emotions.
I don't know how to turn this on. I wonder if it... Oh, there's nobody here. Sorry. If you can get it turned on, that's great. I think it's relative. I know, I'm bad. I think it's relative. Meaning, I'd be curious to know if they're saying perform better for their age, and they're putting it in perception of demographic, or if they're in fact performing better. But here's the cool thing. And this is the byproduct of the HGH stimulation. So as you're stimulating the testosterone, yes, you're going to support greater performance. But as you're stimulating the HGH, you're going to stimulate greater gains in muscle mass and muscle density. But where it's really cool, and I didn't even expect this or think about this until I started observing it as a side effect, per se, is injury repair. You start, because you're stimulating the HGH and maximizing human growth hormone potentials, what you start to see is massive injury repair. So take this then out of sport performance and think about how you can apply it otherwise. How many of you are dealing with clients that have knee problems, neck problems, muscle problems, pain problems? How many of us? Lots, right? So remove the testosterone from the cocktail when you're working in pain and chronic pain or injury, and still consider applying this solely using the HGH. Do you remember in around 99, 2000, 2001, the trend in holistic healthcare was DHEA? Do you remember it was everywhere? Everybody was talking about using DHEA, growth hormone. I think it was from like deer antler or whatever. But then there was a huge backlash from the regulatory bodies, and suddenly you don't hear too much about it anymore, right? Like not in the way that it was so prevalent, and then it sort of got swept under the rug. Well, it didn't get swept under the rug because it was ineffective. It was too effective. Like biofeedback back in the day in Canada, biofeedback used to be used in the hospitals for migraines and pain management, right? The effects of those programs were far too successful, and they vastly reduced the sale of drugs. And that wasn't okay, because much better to have your population hooked on heroin, right? Oxycodone, morphine, or whatever you want to call that shit. Fentanyl now. Okay, so don't just think about the HGH as part of what we just went through as part of performance enhancement. Also, when you're working with chronic pain or injury, consider using the HGH or development. And not just development in chronic pain or injury. Let's say you're working with a sclerotic liver. You know, major degeneration and/or damage in an organ. Well, providing the HGH, the human growth hormone, is going to also provide a much greater building block foundation for the regenerative healing of that organ. So anytime you're doing the third phase of healing, which we talked about earlier today, third phase being stimulating regeneration, growth hormone should always be a part of that cocktail, growth hormone in tandem with stem cell therapy through the device. Cool. Yes? I'm sorry, can everybody be quiet, please? I can't hear the question. I've never used the muscle building one. I've always used the growth hormone, but you could try that. I'll just tell you my experience. Like there are so many different things in this device. You get used to working with the tools that you apply. I've never worked in the capacity of building an athlete properly, meaning I've been brought in, like I explained at the Olympics. I first had 12 sessions in a row on this team. I then had 12 sessions with this team, and when I was working with swimming, I had 30 sessions in a row working with swimming, but I've never had the opportunity really to work with an athlete not during competition or leading up to competition, but in general training. In general training, stuff like the muscle building and things like that, that's where I would think in my method, my approach, that's where I would think to apply it, where I'm actually holistically building an athlete from the ground up and building him into a finely tuned machine. I've never had that opportunity. It's been more brought in the middle of something, give them your piece, and go. Do you know what I mean? So yes, I would use it, but I'd use it more if I was focused in training and able to support and stay with an athlete for a period of time, which is nothing I've ever really done other than what I did at the Olympics. And then there were some provincial sport contracts, but I wasn't working those contracts. Okay, any other questions? Yeah? Uh-oh, shit. Jose?
Two questions. PSA, that most active is already. So what are you going to do when you
the PSA is not one that, in tandem with performance that I ever think about. The PSA is something that I'm always never stimulating, always working to stabilize. Right? Because in my experience, it's most prevalent in reference to prostate. Yeah. And it's always high because most men are pretty inflamed. It could be argued that we're not really getting our needs met, and maybe people could try to meet our needs more, maybe, I don't know. Anybody buying that? I know. It's like when you hear a guy talk about how horrible the experience of labor was for him, to women, it's like the worst thing a man could ever do. Oh my God, she was in labor for 50 hours. It was horrible. It was so stressful. It was so exhausting for me. Wrong. Verhage, not Swinkles, the other Ron, Verhage. He pulled that the other day. He was like, we were sitting talking, and he's like, oh yeah, my wife's labor was 54 hours. It was really stressful and exhausting for me. And I was like, really, dude? You're actually going to say that? Because if I said that, my wife would castrate what's left, and I'm already holding the covenant of Abraham, so they've taken a bit already. You should take the rest. It's not okay. So for me, I'm always stabilizing PSA because I've never understood a condition or a situation where PSA was deficient and I needed to increase it. If you don't know what PSA is, it's an inflammatory measure that's used for measuring prostate inflammation.
So if somebody had prostate, would you stabilize that?
I would stabilize. Yeah, but also, what if you want to talk about prostate problems using this panel, what would be the best thing I could do other than the PSA direct stabilization?
How do you stabilize?
I would stabilize. It's the next one over. Yeah. So, do you remember how I clicked stimulate off to the left here? Here, click OK. Hurry up. There we go. I would otherwise click the stabilize button here before I press start. So I'm not stimulating, I'm stabilizing. Okay, the other thing that I would think of if I were working in a prostate situation is you don't want testosterone, first of all, right? Testosterone is going to lead to angrier inflammation in the body, that hot male energy. We want to release the hot male energy. We want to bring in the estrogens and the progesterones. So, for example, you go see an oncologist because you have an enlarged prostate and a PSA count over 10, as an example, or even 8 these days. And just so you know, if your client has been diagnosed with prostate cancer and they've done so irresponsibly, merely looking at the PSA count, that's completely fucking bullshit. And do a little bit of research into how it works, because there's a vast difference in all men's PSA markers, and they are more often false positive using PSA as the marker for prostate cancer, or even prostate inflammation, because every man's body is fundamentally different. So PSA, calling bullshit on that one in particular, but more importantly, when you go see the oncologist, the first thing most of them will do in Canada is put a client on a progesterone cream, which is used to reduce the inflammation and shrink the enlarged prostate. So matching that understanding, I'm going to vastly increase progesterone, right? I'm also going to work on a lot of inflammatory release, would be the focus of where I would take that. Any other questions while we're in this panel? No? I'm running out of time, yeah. The stem cells, I want to get you into the nutrition. Can I just show you later, Jose? And then that way I can, okay. I wanted to show some stuff in regards to general hormone for menopause, because that's another prevalent thing that we're doing up there, but I got a question for stem cell. So raise your hands if you want me to show you how the stem cell thing works. Put your hands up if you want to see how stem cells and how to properly apply and send stem cells to the right area. Keep your hands up so I can get an actual idea. All right, raise your hand if you would prefer to know how to balance out hormones during menopause. I'm sorry, stem cell trumps. Stem cell trumps. When you're laughing at your own jokes, the lecture's over, right? Totally. Okay. All right, so quickly, let's do stem cell. Maybe I can get through both really quickly, because when I do hormones and menopausal stuff, I'm only using one panel. It's the hormone stuff and nutrition. I'll show you. Quickly, if we do stem cell, this is how it works. Again, stem cell is the third phase of healing. Your client should be detoxed, nutritionally supported before you ever start stimulating stem cells. It's like Bala was explaining yesterday, how he likes to clear the carrier before he sends in in a frequency to make his homeopathic remedy, which is to get rid of the bad information or any stored information there so that it's able to take that correct information. Understand that stem cells are indiscriminate cells. They're open cells. They're not yet purposed. They're cells that can be purposed into anything, and they will take on the information from the cells in which they're exposed. So it's very important that you have cleared the carrier, per se, and what's happening energetically, cellularly with your client, such that the stem cells you're sending in are coming in with proper information, which will support regeneration. Hence why the precursor really needs to be thorough detox and proper support. Makes sense, yeah? Good. Okay, stem cell starts with this. By design, the first thing that you would generally do is come into dark field. You can cheat this and do it different ways, but by design, the first place this would begin is in the dark field analysis panel. In the dark field analysis panel, and why this is important is because if you don't do this step or another autofocus emphasis, the button for doing stem cell therapy will not pop up. So this is one of the precursors to a hidden button. Hence, don't forget. So we want to come in first and do the Skio, Adductor, Indigo, QXCI, or Skio NG. God, that's a mouthful now. Stimulation for stem cell production, and it's right here. Everybody sees down here on the right. So we're going to come in, we're going to run this AFE. As a quick reminder, anytime you're using any one of these autofocus emphasis therapies, sometimes there can be the temptation, once you get into 95% or whatever, to just close it down and move to the next panel. In my experience, often you'll see that it gets stuck at like 98, 99, and it'll just keep running for like 4 or 5 minutes at 98 or 99 in the rectification value over here on the right, right? You get the rectification, so often we'll get impatient, and at 95% we'll say, hey, good enough for the goals we go with. That's so insulting. It's one of my dad's things. I gotta stop using that. Anyway, we'll run this, and many of us will shut it down when it achieves 95. Never do that with an autofocus emphasis therapy, okay? Always let it go the full 100% rectification before you close it. However, for today's purpose, we're just using it as a means of access to the next button. So hypothetically, we came in here, we stimulated this stem cell panel, we saw that rectification was at 100, at which point we ended the therapy and we closed the panel. Yes?
Sorry. This panel on the right side about infection, inflammation, balance, degeneration, injury, trauma, and system. So you use that specifically for the kind of
you can. Getting to be more fancy pants in your therapies, yeah, you can. But that you can't set that in most panels. On the panel itself, it has to be set under system power settings or under Skio AFE therapies. You have to set what it is that you're looking for. You can also set that through the body viewer. And so it selects which one of the focuses that you want. However, the majority of us are just working in general because people haven't been taught that yet. But I can go over it with you. However, yeah, if you want to get creative and fancy, that's absolutely something you would do because it, in theory, changes the structure of the waves, right? Okay, so we will have run the Skio stimulation for stem cell. We're going to come out of here. We're going to click close. From close, we're going to come up into the programs drop-down menu, main matrix, and we're going to scroll down to where it says, pending this software has it. Oh, no, down? Oh, yeah, stress reactivity. Wasn't it so much nicer when it just said stem cell? Anyway, stress reactivity and stem cell. We're going to click on that. Now, most people were taught incorrectly that by stimulating stem cells, they sort of, and then working in the direction where you want to go afterwards, that's how you send them. That's not correct. Okay? Stem cells are really cool, and the way the panel works is kind of awesome. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in and select where I want to send my stem cells through the homeotoxicology or homotoxicology panel, depending on gender, on the list of organs here. So for example, let's say I'm dealing with a liver issue. I'm going to click on liver. You see this? So I set to liver by clicking on it. Notice it knows that I'm doing look, bile, pancreatic juices, thyroid hormones, food craving. It's all relative to the liver. Or I could choose, for example, if we were working, let's say the client had degenerative kidneys. I select kidneys. Okay, so pick the organ you want. Notice how it shows up perfectly in line with these two buttons off to the right, which weren't otherwise there had we not pressed the button of stem cells to come into this panel. Notice how they line up perfectly with the green panel. That shows you that this was designed as the means of direction for your stem cells. So the first thing you're going to do after you set to where you want it to go, if you want to be anal retentive and do an extra step, you're certainly welcome to come in, type liver or kidney or whatever it was that we were working on. If you feel the need to do that, it's not necessary, but some people like those dogmas, so feel free to go in and do that. Then come over to the right and treat stem cell balance. Hey, and the translator's doing a really great job right now. I just want you to know that because I speak quickly and you're just keeping up. So nice job. Don't translate that. All right, so we're going to do the treat stem cell balance. We'll get a rectification value, achieve a 1, I like to push to a 100% rectification. And then after you treat the stem cell balance, you're going to stimulate stem cell activity. Okay, you're going to stimulate it. The next thing you would do, the way I would do this, is probably go back into the growth hormone panel under muscular reeducation for athletes. Sport program. And I would come in and I would actually do my growth hormone because for me, the two have become synonymous. If I'm working in stem cells regeneration, I'm also stimulating the HGH. Okay? And then again, following the flow of the program, and that's what I'm always looking for. So you'd come up and click on growth hormone, you'd click stimulate, you'd set your timer on the right-hand side, you'd press start to stimulate the growth hormone. Now, after that, and again, you get your rectification value, what you're going to do is just double-click on the background of the sport panel to make it go away, and that's going to land you on the time therapy panel. Okay, in the time therapy panel, what we're going to do is select the organ that we just selected in the stem cell panel. So, for example, I think I chose kidney. I'm going to come into this panel, I'm going to set to kidney and run maybe a 10 or a 15 or a 20-minute session on kidneys. Because, again, where energy flows, stem cells goes. Plus, we've directed them specifically to go to the kidney as well, but now we're going to work on the kidney. You think I have any respect or regard for anything you're saying? First of all, you're Russian. I was taught from the time I was little that you're red and I'm red and white. Shit. There's not really much difference between us, brother. Yeah, no worries. It's happening. But you do know that we're the evil people and we're the heroes here to free the rest of the world of your tyrannical oppression. I take... You gotta love the Cold War, right? What's that? Exactly. Okay, so anyway, you're going to come in, you're going to set to the organ you want to work on.
You're going to do that 10 minutes, you're not going just to rectify it here?
Yeah, I generally set it because what I'm doing, like today's focus wouldn't be how quickly can I get everything else done, right? Today's focus will be stimulating stem cell. So if I look at my timing, I've got 10 minutes for my startup procedure. To set up the stem cells and run the dark field, that took maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depending on rectification. reeducation. So that's putting me 20 minutes deep, plus the test has me at 25 minutes deep. I then ran the 2 stem cells. They were 3 minutes each, total of 6 minutes. I'm now at 26 to 36 minutes in my session. The next thing I'm going to do is come into the HGH and do 5 or 10 minutes of that. I'm at 36 or 46 minutes in my session, right? To me, it's all timing. I'm at 46 minutes in my session by doing that. Coming into now the time therapy panel, I'm going to do another 10 minutes. That's going to put me at 46 to 56 minutes into my session.
But what about the holistic organ health?
I like to use it, and that's where my timing sometimes goes over when I'm doing stimulation regeneration. I love the holistic organ health restore. Anybody who's ever had me teach, it's one of my favorite buttons. Like, I've seen people's vision come back, people not need glasses. I've seen really cool shit happen using the holistic organ health restorer right here. The cool thing about it. So anyway, let me keep going. So I'd run the kidney or wherever I'm sending my stem cells for 10 minutes. 5 minutes maybe also. And then if I have time with my client, I would always run the holistic organ health restorer. And once you're set to kidney, it's telling it it's working on kidney. The cool thing about the holistic organ is that you can't set the timer for it, but you can choose to not run it for the time that it offers you. Okay, programs, spinal, there, spinal into time therapies. I'm coming at it a different way. The cool thing about the holistic organ health restorer is once it's set and you click it, it'll tell you how long it needs to run for. So it just said 4 minutes. Well, in today's session, I have 4 minutes, but sometimes it'll come back and say 23 minutes. And if I don't have 23 minutes, I just click no. And then I go back to the holistic organ health restorer, and now it says 6 minutes. I have 6 minutes, I click yes. So I never like that you can't set the timer. The ideal is that you say yes to whatever the time is it's selected initially. But if you don't have that time and you still want to run it, click no, click the button again. It will give you a different time potential until you have the amount of time that you have left in your session and run that. Okay? You understand what I mean? All right, groovy. Cool. Next thing, so we did that. Okay, perfect. We set the stem cells, we directed them, we worked on the organ, we then ran the holistic organ health restorer. We then closed out of this panel, and we came back to the programs drop-down menu to finish off the session. So back to programs drop-down. Coming back down to where it says stress reactivity and stem cell. Coming back into our list of organs. Today the example I used was kidney, so I'll click on kidney again. And now to finish the session, what I'm going to do is first do the stem cell stimulation and then end it in balance. And that's my approach to doing stem cell. And I would argue the correct one, but that's, whatever. Sorry? So initially you came in, when you first came into this panel at the beginning of the session, you first clicked on stem cell balance and then you stimulated. To end it, you're going to stimulate it and then balance it. Yeah. So that you leave everything in balance, right? You've flooded it, you've brought back the balance, and it's got a really pretty little ribbon on it now. All right, that's stem cell. Unfortunately, I've run out of time today for hormone menopause, but I will try to put something together because I talked about it and make it available via Andrew through the website or whatever mediums they're using. I hope you enjoyed today. Lots more to do.